Alright, so here's my custom Buzz Lightyear that I'm working on, and I'm going to try and get a bicep swivel put on him. So I might do something with these pads too. I don't know if I'm gonna do it today because I don't have the part, but I'm gonna try the bicep swivel for now and see what that does, and see how that goes. So, and my birds are being loud, but can't do nothing about that really.
To infinity and beyond.
Alright, so right here I'm just cutting through, I'm going to be cutting through, there it is. See this part of the arm and the upper part here with a Dremel and a cutting tool. And this cutting tool that I'm using on the Dremel can cut through metal. So if you're doing this, use vice grips or something to hold it away from your hand. Don't use your bare hands. You could easily cut your fingers off doing this. So I do not recommend it at all. It is can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So if you want to try and do this to any of your figures, proceed with caution. This part here is actually wrong. I found this out after I had done it and put it all together. I was still able to make it work. What I'm doing here is I'm going to try and drill a hole in the middle part of just this half, but there's two halves that go together, and you don't want to drill it on one side or the other, because then it won't be even when you put the arm on, and it won't even hook up right, because there's other plastic parts and the little white parts that go over this part. Lots of parts. So what you want to do is have the two gray parts bolted together, and then when you do that, after you get it cut and everything, then you want to just drill a hole straight down the center of the two parts, and be careful and hold it, because you can break it really easily. But this attempt was wrong. Okay, so here, if you notice all this dust from all my experimentation and cutting I've been doing, this is the main joint part, and you got to trim all this junk off so it fits on there, because you got to put a washer in there to hold the screw in place that you put into the other part of the arm to get it to swivel. And all this stuff gets in the way, and it will not go together unless you cut it off. So you could try different ways to cut this off. The best way to avoid stress fracture, I think, would be to use some kind of a cutting tool like this Dremel cutting tool. Again, if you do it, be cautious, be safe. Use something else besides your fingers to hold the object that you're cutting. Cannot stress that enough. Because these Dremel tools will cut through metal, so they will easily cut your finger off. So again, don't recommend it, especially if you do not know what you're doing or are not familiar with working with power tools at all. I do not recommend doing this, but proceed with caution and at your own risk if you decide to do this. But there's a lot of doing this involved. Once you figure it out, you can do it pretty quick. I mean, it took me quite a while to figure out the first arm, but then the second arm went like really smooth. It just took like few minutes to get done. So, but figuring out exactly and trimming everything right and whatnot, figuring out how to put the screw in and everything can take a while the first time you do it, so you get everything lined up to actually work somewhat well. It's still kind of a rinky-dink thing. This is definitely just for display. If you're interested in trying to do this to one of your Buzz Lightyears, it's just a display thing. And it's kind of you're gonna pose this once. See how I have that screw in there? That's wrong too. It should be straight down the middle of both of those pieces. Put together, screwed together. I didn't film that because I got busy and forgot, basically. So, but just know that piece is not right. If you wanna do this, don't go off of what that piece looks like. Don't put the screw in there. put it in there with them both put together, but you also have to drill a hole down in there, and you have to be careful when you're doing that because you can split that apart because it's just barely bolted together. This is really sensitive, rinky-dink kind of a modification. And I would not spend good money on anybody who says they've professionally modded one of these with a swivel like this, because it's Okay, so this is the mod on one arm, and it's real hard to get the screw and everything in here straight. You got to do all kinds of stuff for this. It's really sketchy, and you could break the whole thing at any minute. Clearly doing this, so I don't recommend doing this, but it works for now until this pulls off completely, which hopefully it won't, but it could very easily just kind of pull straight off. So you're just kind of hoping it doesn't. Basically, this is pretty rinky-dink, but it's the only way you could do this. So it's just I don't know. So it's definitely not made to be posed very often. It's just kind of like a once and done thing. But and the other one to do, I'm gonna have to take all the electronics out of the arm. So all right, there's that. By the way, when you do this, you're going to be sacrificing. If you do this, I wouldn't recommend doing this in general. Just leave it alone. This is a really rinky-dink thing, and it's a pain to do. You're going to be sacrificing the electronics because you're not going to be able to cut the stuff you need to cut with the wires. You could unsolder it if you really wanted to, but then trying to run it back through and then having this all loosey-goosey, it's just, you're going to ruin the wires just posing them, so just cut them out. That's what I think. But I mean, it's pretty cool. You can get a little bit more movement out of his arms. It's kind of loose. I don't know how you would make it nice and tight, like
That's very funny, but
like a factory joint. Because it's just, you literally just run a screw in there, and I had to do stuff different than what it's even going to be in this video, because it's a pain. It's a huge pain to try and do this mod. So and this is literally, after you do this mod too, this is just going to be something that you're going to use for display. There's just no other use for it, but as you can see, you can do that kind of business with his arm there. If you want him to go down a little bit further too, because there's no electronics or anything in here, you can do this. Or is he not going to go down further? I thought he would. No. Okay. Well, the other side did earlier, so ignore what I'm talking about. Also, that ball joint isn't going to turn with the arm when you do this like it normally does. You have to turn it like I'm doing it. So, so you can get his arms down to his sides. You know, you can have him do different stuff. See how loose this side is? This side's a little bit tighter just because of the way I got the screw. Also, you do this too much, this is going to fall out. I know it will. So if you do this, try to do this mod, this is just for a display thing. If you want to pose something to pose a lot, I wouldn't recommend this for that. But it was fun to do as an experiment, I guess. So you can have them in the side there. If you notice, they're not quite straight either, just because of the way this works and everything. It's not meant to turn this way, so you're kind of breaking laws of physics or something doing this. I don't know. But you know, you can have them do the, watch the arm fall off. I'm posing that one now. I think it's on there good enough that it won't, but you can do the get get that arm back like it would be more like in the movie or whatever, to do a flying pose, like that. So you've got that arm like back like that. You know, put his foot up. See how loose that is too up there? It just kind of flopped over. You know, so you can do a pose like that with that swivel on the bicep. Or you can do the, like I had him at the beginning, where you can kind of get his arm to go backward like this. And see, there's slide movement in there, because all this is there's a screw going down in between here. There's not a good spot to screw it in. I mean, if you really wanted this to last, I mean, maybe if you poured like epoxy inside of the slot that's in between here, these two pieces, and then like permanently push these together, and then screw a hole into that and stuff. And then I tried to double up the washers, but it was just too finicky and stuff. So I just have one washer on there. It's a really rinky dink mod. It takes some time to do and mess around with. And you see people selling these custom Buzz Lightyears sometimes that are modded like this, and they want like a lot of money for them. I don't think it's worth it, knowing how rinky dink this particular mod in particular is, knowing how easy it is to do this arm thing. And also, when you do all these mods, you're sacrificing the structural integrity of the plastic. Like I got little things that look like they could be stress fractures everywhere, so that means this could break really easily just moving it around, and that's just going to happen because it's not made to be, this stuff isn't made to be done to it. So if you spend a lot of money on a custom Buzz, or a custom, it could be a custom anything, there's going to be stress fractures going on, and I mean, you could break it really easily. It's just, I don't see the worth in doing it. If you want to try to do it yourself, something cheap you get, then that's worth it. But it's like spending money on something somebody else customized is just a ripoff. So there's no other way to do it other than this kind of a way, and you're going to wind up with the same issues, possible issues, if you're not careful with it. Very careful with it. So it's just, I don't think it's not worth the money to spend on somebody else's custom made thing. They're just trying to make as much money as they can off of people who don't understand how this stuff's done. Anyway, so you can do that. So it's pretty cool for getting them in slightly different poses. Anyway, that'll be it for this mod video. This took longer than I expected, so. But I've got a couple other mods I'm going to do to this guy. So I think a couple more, we'll see. One more at least, maybe two. Hopefully the arms stay attached and don't fall off. But he's just going to literally sit on the shelf, so it doesn't matter. But all right, thanks for watching. Wouldn't recommend probably attempting this, but if you really want to, just know it's just for basically being on a shelf, and there's a good chance you'll break it just doing this. I mean, break it so like it's broken, and the electronics aren't going to work. And so anyway, all right, see ya.